Good morning. I don't know. We'll have the sheets in shortly, but we might have a quorum this time. Uh, but we do have some information to pass along. But first, welcome PBSO back to our meeting. And will Captain Palenzuela please lead us in the pledge?
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be looking over the minutes, although if you've got a good memory, you've seen them before. We went back to the last set of minutes for which we had a real meeting. Last month was a total bust with no quorum. So it's really not much we can do about these minutes. They're presented for record. Thank you, Bob. And we will please call for the law enforcement report. Captain.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see everyone. Great to be back. It's been a while. It's been a year. I think it's been a year, over a year. So on behalf of PBSO, we hope the Century Village community is safe and healthy and everybody's doing well. I did have some meetings over the last couple months about the pod that was being set up for traffic, and we came in and assisted you guys with that. So just to go over some housekeeping stuff, don't forget, now that we're going to get back into hopefully some type of normalcy or routine, I know the pandemic is still with us. Hopefully it's waning down, but we have hurricane season now that's coming up. So make sure to stock up and be prepared. We never know. We've been very blessed and fortunate the last couple years to not have to experience a direct landfall or hit in Southeast Florida, but we have to be prepared. And always be on that footing, especially since we've had some quiet years. You just, and when you least expect it. So make sure you have batteries, you have your flashlights, your lighting mechanisms, you have emergency contact numbers. Make sure that when you go out to Publix, you get some extra water, keep that on tap. District 3 has very robust and capable resources, so if something does happen within the village, we'll be here to assist. But remember, too, when the storm's at its worst, and the winds are high, it's very hard for emergency services to get out. So you are going to need to be somewhat self-sufficient when those winds are high and when the storm's at its worst. So I just want to put that back out there and refresh everybody with that. Some changes at District 3 while we've been gone or on hiatus for a year. Lieutenant John Hill finally retired. Yay, John. He's living happily up in the mountains of Tennessee with his wife, and he's enjoying his retirement. I was very fortunate to be able to select a new executive officer for District 3. So I'm going to introduce Lieutenant Eric Monath. He'll tell you a little bit about himself. Yeah, he's a great guy. Eric and I have we've worked together since patrol all the way through our years here at the agency. We knew each other very well, and he's a great asset to District 3. He's already made a lot of positive changes and helped moving us forward with technology and some other enhancements. I'll let him talk about that, and I'll keep it brief because we want to go over the March and April crime report. All right? Thank you, everyone.
Good morning. I had to take my mask off because I'll be honest, my glasses are fogging up and I can't see anybody. So I hope you guys don't mind, but I'll make it quick. I'm Eric Monath. I've been with the Sheriff's Office almost 30 years. I will say that I'm going into the retirement system July 1st. Yay. You know, there is life after this career, and I'm going to do 5 more years, and then I'm calling it. After that, I think 35 years is enough. I think my wife wants me back to a normal schedule.
Wow.
Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I gave you the years that I've been here. I've been assigned pretty much all over the agency, anything from detective to robbery homicide to crimes against children. I was executive officer of the training division and pretty much managing 4,000 employees there for 4 years. I was a watch commander on the road. I worked the south end of the county, pretty much from Boca all the way up to the city of Lake Worth. And then I had the honor of coming up and working at District 3 with Captain Palenzuela. I'm a no-nonsense guy. I get things done very quick. I don't let things sit. I like to get it off my desk, and I like quality over quantity. And it's just the way I've worked over my career. I'm a hard worker. I give an honest day's work, and I bust my butt every day, even if it takes me well into the night time to get my tasks done. So I'm going to go over the crime report. I'm going to go over the last 2 months because we couldn't come here last month with a scheduling conflict. So I'm going to go over March's and April's just to kind of give you guys an overview of what's going on here. So we'll start with calls for service. For March 2021, we had 232 calls for service, and of those, 49 of those calls resulted in police reports. And I'll go over some of the cases from that. And for the April numbers, we were close, 239 calls for service, and of those, 41 cases resulted in a police report being documented. I will say that when I did get to District 3, I encourage all my patrol deputies that work this Okeechobee corridor area to drive through here. I'm sure some of you have seen our motor unit through here. We're doing a lot of traffic enforcement, so word to the wise, stop at your stop signs and don't speed. Not only am I sending my motor guys in here, sometimes they're on their motors, so you'll see them on their marked motor units, but other times they're in unmarked cars. So you may not know who they are, and then all of a sudden you see the nice flashing blue and red lights behind you or somebody in here. So we just really encourage people to follow the law when it comes to traffic and don't become a victim of getting a citation because we really don't want to write you one. Let's go over the traffic report real quick. So in March, you had 6 car crashes in here, which were handled. We noted 30 citations and 10 written warnings, but I'm going to give you a caveat to that, and I'm going to also go over to the April number. Accidents, we went down to 3, and the numbers were a little bit less on the citations with 10 citations and 5 written warnings. But the caveat to that is when I send my motor unit in here, they normally do not call their traffic stops in to our CAD system. So a lot of times they'll come into the community, they'll find a nice cozy place to sit and run their radar or sit at a stop sign, but they will not call it out to the dispatcher. So with that being said, those numbers are a lot less than what actually happened here. I would say over the last 3+ months, we've probably written over 100 citations in here, and the written warnings are probably about the same. So while they come across as being a little bit low based on our information on our sheets, I can unequivocally tell you that that's not accurate, that we wrote a whole lot more citations than that's being noted on here. Cases of interest. So I'm going to start with a case back from September, and some of you might be familiar with this case. It made the media, it made newspapers, and I'm sure throughout the community it was discussed. Back in September, you had a homicide in here of a lady that lived in Coventry. Some of you familiar with that? Maybe some? Okay. So basically, she had lived here in your community in Coventry I in Century Village, and on September 14th, she had an acquaintance. They had some domestic issues, and he called us to do a welfare check on her at her house. When we got to the house, she was found deceased. Shortly thereafter, we got another telephone call of somebody that was having mental distress that lived probably about 5-6 miles away. And it turned out that that person having mental distress was actually the boyfriend. And when we got to the scene of where he was, we started putting the puzzle together that the two were acquainted with each other. He had some blood on him. He was making some incoherent statements to us, and the detectives were able to figure out that he actually, he killed her. So we took him into custody. He was arrested for first-degree murder. And for those that listened to the media and also read the newspaper, he had a pretty horrendous criminal past and had done time in Department of Corrections in prison. So she had invited in a not a very good person that ended up ending her life. So I just wanted to touch on that really quick. Basically, those cases, once somebody gets arrested for that, it has to go to a grand jury. The grand jury needs to hear the evidence. If they agree with the evidence and the charges and the probable cause, then they find a true bill, and then they charge, and then they go. He's still in jail. I doubt he's going to go anywhere, and I think he confessed on top of that. So let's talk about some cases of interest real quick. We're still having problems with vehicle burglaries in here, and I'm going to touch on something really good that happened recently within the last week. So the vehicles are still getting hit, but they're inviting the criminals to hit them because people are leaving their cars unlocked. And then you're leaving your cars unlocked, you're leaving valuables in the car. So you're really inviting that criminal element to make it in and out of your car within seconds and steal your valuables very quickly. If you'll please stress to everybody to continue to please lock your cars. And those that have little key fobs, some people leave their key fobs in their car and then the car gets stolen. So we have problems with that. Not so much in Century Village, but we do in the North region where people leave in luxury cars. They'll just leave the key fob in there, walk away from the car, go into the house, and by the next morning the car is gone with the key that you left behind. So the good thing that happened with the vehicle burglaries that within the last week we were able to make 2 arrests on 2 different people that were actually the ones committing some of the unlocked car burglaries here in Century Village. And people may ask, how did those people get into the community? Well, this was actually pretty innovative. The person that we arrested actually stole a barcode from somebody they were acquainted with here in Century Village that had passed away. So we recovered the barcode that they were using to get into your community. So we put them in jail, and hopefully the justice system will take care of that from there. We were able to recover some property, so the detectives worked really hard to get that solved really quick. That happened within the last 3-4 days. So that's really good and positive. But we still stress to everybody to please make sure that your cars are locked. Other stuff that we see still happening here is the fraud cases. You get those cold calls. They're scams. We tell people, do your best not to fall for something like that, and please don't give people money, and please don't give them your bank account information. Nothing good is going to come out of that. They call my house. They probably call all of our houses and our cell phones. But with that being said, just hang up on them. Hang up on them. If you have a smartphone, you could block the number from calling you. Usually we get those car warranty calls. You guys getting those? About 10 a day, every day, that your car warranty needs renewal. Yeah, we're all sick of that. With that being said, I just block their numbers, and then they figure out a new number to call you on. I keep blocking those too. They're a pain in the neck. Yes, we understand it, but unfortunately, we're going to still get them. We had another one where the victim in Canterbury K was called by a person that said that they were an FBI agent and gave directions to send gift cards and also provide personal information. That person lost $1,800 off that one. Listen, an FBI agent is not going to call you and ask you for information and ask you to go purchase gift cards from them. Something's going to stink when that happens. And other stuff that we see is the grandson scam, where you get a phone call, they say that they're your grandson, that they're in jail, they need bond money, you need to wire me money. We're seeing that also. That happened in Sheffield E on April the 8th. And that person was actually smart. They didn't have a loss, but it still happened. And then we had some fraudulent withdrawals of bank accounts, $4,000 out of Kent F, and a couple of thefts with utilities. One happened in Salisbury, and somebody else that had service people at their house that ended up stealing some stuff from inside. Please, I stress to you, if you're out and about, you're walking, you're riding your bicycle, you see something at night, you're getting out of your car, in your car, if you see anybody suspicious, please call us. Security can come, let us come, let us check it out. If there's nothing to it, then by all means, great. But if there's something to it, at least let us get the information and look into it. Another really good case that happened here within the last 10 days, George Franklin called us about somebody that was possibly selling some illegal narcotics. Within 3 hours, we were at that house with our street team unit, and we were in there talking to the resident, and as she was picking up a pack of cigarettes, crack cocaine was sitting right there. And sometimes you just can't fix stupid, right? But here it was. So she was severely disabled. So we kind of cut her a little bit of a break where we didn't wheel her out in her wheelchair and take her right off to jail. They filed for an arrest warrant. So she's going to be going to jail here soon. They wanted to get the state attorney's office to just sign an arrest warrant for her. So that was a really good case. We moved on it. We work really well with George as the liaison between us and Century Village. If you see something or something doesn't sound right or look right to you, and it's something that may need more of a follow-up investigation instead of an immediate response, when you get with George, give him all the information that you have. He'll pass it on to us, and we'll funnel it right out to our specialty units really quick. You could depend on us. We're going to take a look at whatever you're going to send to us. Some stuff pans out, just like this one from a week ago. Some stuff doesn't pan out. You know, we look into it. We go into some of the residences. We speak to people. We do some background work, and it just doesn't work out. But that's okay, because at least they know we're around and we're looking at them. So if they are involved in something and we just haven't caught them yet, we'll catch them at some point. But we love that liaison relationship that we have here with Century Village. So if you see something, say something. You know, don't just assume that everything's going to be okay. Call if it needs an immediate response. And if it's something that needs further follow-up, just get it to George, and he'll fire it off to me real quick, and we'll take a look at it. And anybody have any questions for us? Sir?
All right, look, we can't hear a thing you're saying.
Okay. 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 Okay.
All right.
Okay. So no problem, sir. I'll explain to you about the CAD thing. So our motor units are making traffic stops after traffic stop after traffic stop, and we're really trying to decrease our radio traffic in case an emergency actually happens and somebody needs to key up on their microphone and say something. So with that being said, because they're always doing it, they have computers on their bikes. They're actually in the back compartment of the motorcycle, that their little storage compartment. There's actually a computer and a printer in there. So they're able to work pretty much self-contained right from their motorcycle, and to eliminate some of the radio traffic, and not to stress out our dispatchers that are trying to get out calls for service and them tying up the radio traffic by calling out traffic stop after traffic stop. It was just an easier way of doing it. It's not that we're trying to hide the information. We're just trying to open up the radio traffic in case somebody needs to use the radio for a more priority reason. Sir? Yeah, appreciate that. Yep. There's also some apps out there that'll block some of this nonsense from coming through, but I'll be honest with you, even going on the no-call list, they still call. Yeah, and this is something that we're going to have to just kind of live with. It's a little bit of a nuisance. Thank you. Anybody? Ma'am?
What?
They want to know how they can get a hold of you in case you're needed. How people here at Century Village, if they want to pass on information, can get to you. I hear people saying it's in the paper.
Right.
George Franklin. That's a common name. Go ahead, sir.
Concerning the homicide, is this, yes it is. Do you know how the alleged perp got into Century Village?
Yep. So,
What can we learn from his method of entrance?
yeah, no issue. So they were acquainted with each other, so he was on her guest list.
And I have a no-call telephone number, and I get, like you said, 10 calls a day.
Sure.
And I'm trying, but they all show up the number. When I call them back, it's out of service. Each one of them now. Is it something to do with the telephone companies? How can they do this?
Yeah, so I'm not too technologically advanced when it comes to that stuff, but they more or less what's called spoof a number. What you're calling back is a non-operable number,
Yes.
so they don't want you to call them back. But there's a machine, there's a contraption that you're able to put fake numbers in. My cell phone number has personally shown up on other people that have cold called me
It's-
to ask me why I've called them, and I haven't called them. So they're spoofing the numbers, and they're trying to get you to buy into their warranty or whatever else, medical type stuff that they want you to purchase from them. And I'll be quite honest with you, sir, it's super tough to stop because we really don't know where it's originating from. Ma'am? She's talking about incidents.
Oh, Jesus.
How long ago? I don't, unless it was some sort of a natural death or something, or a suicide. Most stuff that we know, I pass it on to George as soon as I know about it. I'll be honest with you. Last week I wasn't here. I was in Utah, so I didn't get any information on that. But I could look into something. What was the community area? Stratford O. Okay, I'll look into it and find out. Yep, no issue. Anybody else that has any? Yes.
Can't hear a thing you're saying.
She lives there. Last Friday. Do you have an idea what it was about? Do you have an idea what kind of call it was, or why they were there? Right, but do you have an idea if it was a natural death, a suicide? No. Okay. Okay. Yep. No issue. Anybody else?
All right, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very complete report.
Thanks.
And I need to tell you, we're right dead bang on quorum, 117. And so I'm going to jump over a lot of this stuff here and get right down to new business. Because if we lose one person, we can't vote on it. And this bylaw amendment has been hanging around. Where's Richard? Has been hanging around for maybe over a year. So, Richard, if you jump down to new business, if you would like to briefly present this one last little piece of the bylaw update, and we'll call for a vote, okay?
Alrighty. 18 months ago, Mr. Grossman proposed an amendment. Of the 134 votes, that amendment received 91 yeses and 43 noes. 91 is more than twice 43, therefore it received more than the 2/3 required for a bylaw amendment to be affirmed. However, the basis number was the 158 who had signed in, not the 134 who were there when the vote was taken. I felt this was an unjust imposition on voting, especially since his vote was the 4th of 5 that day. Therefore, I proposed to the then chairman of the advisory committee that we specify in the bylaw 2/3 of the vote of those present when the vote is taken. That is the amendment before you. If you will note, Mr. Israel always before a vote checks to see if there is indeed a quorum. We can use that number, 2/3 of which will affirm a bylaw amendment, or a majority if it's a simple motion. I'm in favor of it. The advisory committee, the officers, and the executive board all affirm this amendment unanimously. Thank you.
All right, and you reminded me again, has anyone left and turned in their, no. So we still have our quorum. So we would now like to entertain a motion on this particular amendment. We have, where are you? Can you tell us who you are? Oh, I'm sorry, Marilyn. I couldn't see you because of that lovely mask. Do we have a second? All right. And we're not using clickers at the moment, so please, all in favor? All right. It's clearly overwhelming of those present, but for the record, all opposed? Nobody opposed. So thank you, Dr. H. It passes. Full speed ahead. And now the second item, as you may remember, we only had 17 members on our executive board, and the bylaws permit me to appoint, up to 4. And so to fill out the 20, I have appointed Susie Burns. Is Susie here? That's okay. And Olga Walkenstein. Is Olga here? All right. And Joyce Reese. All right. Joyce, are you here? And would either of you like to make any statement? It's not necessary. I think everybody knows who you are. All right. So I would like to call for a motion to ratify these 3 appointments. George makes the motion. And we have a second. Who? Thank you. You got that, Bob? All right. Thank you. All in favor of these appointments? Oh, wow. All right. Again, overwhelming. And all opposed? I have 1. No, I have 1 opposed. Missing anyone? 2? 3? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. All right. No, it's okay. All right. All right. So those appointments pass. And now I want to make an announcement here, which I should have made earlier. You may have noticed that the editor-in-chief of our reporter is up here at the dais. Ruth Dries. I consider the reporter a critical component of UCO operations and will henceforth ask the editor-in-chief to join us at these meetings. All right. Say again? Oh, okay. Thank you, Patricia. A couple of things, and we'll go into the reports of all the officers. I'm going to announce 2 things which you should be aware of, but they're kind of sensitive and in legal flux, and we can't say a lot. As you may or may not know, we are being sued by a renter in the village. The essence of the cause of action is no wheelchair capability on our buses. All right? This is being taken up in the federal court in the Southern District of Florida. This is a big deal, and it's being presented under the guise of a fair housing violation. That this person does not have unencumbered enjoyment of her housing unit because of her handicap. She cannot use the buses in the wheelchair. And that's really all I can say. It's in the hands of an insurance appointed lawyer, and it will work its way through the court. The other item which is of importance, as you may know, the Millennium Amendment to the long-term lease expires at the end of 2021. This is a big deal. We're talking lots and lots of money here. We're in negotiation with management, WPRF, to renew this lease on terms, best terms we can get for the residents of the village. And when our attorney, Bruce Kaplan, says we can release something, we will so do. Is Bruce here? Negative. That's okay. All right, let's go through the officers' reports now. And why don't we start with Dominic?
Good morning. Things that I have to report are probably going to be duplicated by the other vice presidents along the line, so I'll be brief. Barcodes are enormous. We've got so many people coming in with new cars, new arrivals coming to Century Village. We're overwhelmed with barcodes, which are a necessary evil. It gets you through the traffic zone very quickly. Condo sales up. I think that we're 65% higher than the other two Century Villages. So we've got a lot of changes in condominium ownership and rentals. You've got the law enforcement report. Tree trimming is about to start. It's done annually. They can take up to 30% of the foliage in the tree in a year. So some people would like to have the tree trimmed to a further removal of vegetation. It can't be done. The county doesn't allow that. And there's a project, it was called Norwood J, where they're replacing valves so that they can isolate shutoffs for water breaks and involve fewer associations so that a no boil water policy is issued for a large area now, but they'll break it down into 3, 4, 5, perhaps smaller areas, and the impact on you people will be far less. I think that's enough. People further along will hit the points. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
Any questions for Dom? All right. We get the VPs first. Stuart?
Can you hear me? Okay. It shows, clearly shows that the vice presidents are all on the same page, because as I'm looking at the notes that I was going to refer to, Dominic virtually touched on all of them. So just the comments that I will make a little bit mundane. If you'll notice, there are less people riding bicycles, and that is really good for the pedestrians. However, if you'll notice that there are speed riders with their plastic hats on and racing bikes shooting along the automobile lanes and cutting through the full stop signs, and could be a danger to people who are driving their automobiles and not noticing them. So please just keep an eye out to what's going on about you. We also would like to tell you, because of the fact that we have a limited staff, if you call and you need help, just leave your phone number and we'll get back to you. We're not ignoring you, but we're in the front of the UCO office dealing with people that are coming in. The other thing is that when you come in for service, either it's your barcodes or anything from investigations, please